Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Tevaron here, and welcome to another episode of Friday Night Magic. This week we are going to be playing an old school blue-white control list, courtesy of Covert Go Blue. I will put a link in the description to the blog post where he lists the deck out, along with several others, in the description below. I will also put a link to the main landing page of his Duel Diaries blog, which is a really interesting read if you are at all into Magic duels, and I highly recommend it. And again, those will both be in the description. But without further ado, let's get in there and grind out some matches. Okay, this is actually an excellent hand. We are definitely going to keep this. We've got Jace for early card advantage, filtering and whatnot. If we can flip him, that's great board control as well, along with a counterspell and creature kill. So you can't really ask for much more. This deck, as I said, is an old school style of blue-white control where you want to basically counter and kill everything. Harkens back to a lot of similar to what I used to play back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Even had some moderate success in the mid-2000s with a blue-white control list that was basically all control, and then sought to use Sacred Mesa to kill people. Sacred Mesa is an enchantment that was originally printed in Mirage, was reprinted in Time Spiral as a time-shifted card. Pay a white and a colorless to make a 1/1 white flying Pegasus, and you could do this as many times as you wanted to. So that was good defense and offense. But enough of that. Let's see what we can do with what we have here. Alright, I'm not looking to block with Jace, so I'm going to loot right away. No reason to pass the turn. And what is the least useful of what we have at the moment? I would say that I want to probably get rid of Bone to Ash right now. I don't want to get rid of any of my lands because I do want to make land drops every turn if possible. And though we were only 1 mana away from casting Bone to Ash, everything else in my hand is castable this turn. Looks like we're playing against what could be mono black. That's pretty interesting. Consecrated by Blood. Enchanting creature gets +2/+2, has flying, and can be regenerated by sacrificing creatures. I think we want to say no to that. Go ahead and spell Shrivel it. Our opponent has quite enough power on the board at present, and Celestial Flare isn't targeted, so we couldn't force him to sack that particular creature. And again, folks, as I usually remind people, there is a setting in gameplay within the settings of duels that you can turn off the watching damage effects. It makes the games go so much faster. And before we play a land, we will loot. And this time, I think I am going to bend the Felidar Cub. Play a land, and pass over to our opponent. One thing that's important to remember when playing a control deck of this ilk is that your life total is a resource. The only point that matters is that last point that keeps you from dying. So lots of games we will go quite low, and I think I'm going to go ahead and Celestial Flare my opponent here. That will allow us to flip Jace next turn, as well as we're still holding up horribly awry, and kind of slows down our opponent's clock here. That is a nice target for Horribly Awry. Don't mind if I do, getting rid of Erebos' Titan for good. And I could wait to get in a free block to block and flip. That would save Jace. I don't want to take the off chance that my opponent's going to drop a 5th land and have some instant speed removal though. So I'm going to go ahead and flip him right now. And at this point I will discard a land because I want these 3 spells. I will discard a Plains. And now Jace has come back and he can control the board. We're going to give that creature -2/-0 until our next turn. And play our land and pass. My allergies are acting up a bit now. I do apologize if I miss editing out any of my throat clearing or coughs in post. I do try to get them all, but sometimes I miss a few. So if that happens, please look over that if you would. We will see what our opponent has waiting. We have counters for basically whatever it is. I would be very happy if our opponent would pass and let us cast Inspiration to draw some cards at the end of their turn. Necromantic Summons. We cannot allow that to happen. We'll Spell Shrivel that. Save our Scatter for times when Spell Shrivel might not get the job done. Okay, there's another counter. That's fine. And we will continue to keep our opponent's creature under control. And just settle in for the long haul here. What this deck aims to do is eventually get to the point where we get our own threat of some sort on the board. And just finish our opponent out while they're unable to do anything to us. We will counter that. We will scatter it because it is 5 mana and Horribly Awry cannot get it. If I had some removal available to me, I might have let that resolve, but I do not. Alright. And we will continue to tick up on Jace. We may even ultimate Jace eventually, but for now I'm content to just sit here and play defense. Perilous Mirror. We will say bye-bye to that as well. And now we will definitely be casting this Inspiration to try to restock. Okay. Telling Time is nice. I'm going to go ahead and cast Telling Time right now. And we want the 2 spells, so we are going to draw the Inspiration or put it in our hand. We already have a Bone to Ash there. Put the Bone to Ash on top, the island on the bottom. We'll play our Plains and continue to keep this Child of Night at 0 power. I will not, under any circumstance, I think, be ultimating Jace next turn because that would put him in the graveyard. And I will be stopping that. Bone to Ash. Draw our other Bone to Ash off of that. Wonder what that last card our opponent is holding is. Okay. Some sort of pump? No. Just wanted to do it, I suppose. Ah, Hixus. He is a good fellow. We will go ahead and minus this guy again. may eventually want to use the -3 ability to flash back something from our graveyard. Most likely target would be an inspiration at this point. See if they attack for lulls again. And no. And I am content to cast inspiration again on myself. That's pretty good. Alright, I will play a Prairie Stream. And I will not ultimate Jace yet. Keep that guy under control. And we may, regardless of what our opponent does, put Hixus into play this next turn just to get a threat active. Kind of want to wait till we have an actual counterspell though. Go ahead and counter draw here. Good deal. At this point, I think I do want to ultimate Jace to start the milling process here. I'm unwilling to commit one of my Hixuses to the board because our opponent most likely has removal for that, while we have removal plus the Hixus to keep this guy from killing Jace. So we are going to put out an emblem that says whenever we cast a spell, our opponent puts the top 5 cards of his or her library into the graveyard. As this person is our only opponent, it will auto-choose them as the target. I think. I've never actually had a Jace emblem out on Duels. I do imagine, yep, that we are going to be swung at, or Jace is. So I'm going to attempt to Hixus here. And we do have to target, so target with the emblem there. And if our opponent has removal for Hixus, then we still have Celestial Flare. Yeah, complete disregard doesn't hit Hixus. Has to be power 3 or less. Right, so our opponent will gain a little more life. That's not really relevant to us. In games that we could take control of, if the opponent's life isn't 1,000,000 or so, it doesn't really matter because we're going to get there eventually. Alright, and we will now continue to tick Jace up on nothing. And just pass the turn. See if our opponent has what is necessary to get out of this situation. Mortuary Mire is perhaps a start. I wouldn't myself personally want to put Child of the Night back on top there. Or, yeah, I guess there was a drone there as well. Okay, Necromantic Summons, which I imagine is targeting a Child of Night. I'm going to counter it regardless, thereby milling whatever they put on top of their library into their graveyard as well. Oh yeah, sorry. Needed to target with the emblem there. As I said, I'm not used to playing with Jace's emblem on here. It's the first time I've ever managed to ultimate him. Okay, and we'll just continue what we're doing. I know it's kind of boring, but it's also effective. And I actually kind of expect to see a concession some point soon here. Okay, that's fine. Have more than enough to deal with that. We'll play a Guild Gate, and we'll minus on Kofed, and continue to pass. This is the very definition of draw go here. I think I pronounced his name wrong. It's Kothafed. Another necromantic summons. Don't actually have anything to stop that at this point, though we do have ways to deal with creatures in our hands. So our opponent is swinging at us instead of Jace. I guess that's probably a good call, but we're going to flare them and mill them with the emblem. Alrighty. At this point, I think I want to use Jace's -3 ability to flashback inspiration. And we will cast that spell, targeting ourselves, and that's fine for tapping mana, and mill our opponent. Okay, and I will play Foundry here. That is another defensive card as well as a win condition in this deck. At this point, I think it's probably going to be faster to just mill them than to try to kill them with damage, being as they are at 30 life. And again, we will flare our opponent. Target them with the emblem. Don't want to let this guy hit me, as we would be taking 16 damage. Didn't quite see what our opponent flashed at us there from their hand. I was looking at the Gravebane fellow here, Graveblade Marauder. Another co-fed. I think we will counter that. Target them. Okay, and I plan to mill them out right here. So we will play our land, cast Inspiration on ourselves, target them with the emblem. Then we will, we'll just cast Felidar Cub. I was going to cast Celestial Flare, but that's not necessary. And that's the ball game. Our opponent sees the writing on the wall. No need to use Jace. When our opponent fails to draw a card during the draw phase, the game will end. And I will see you in the next one. Okay. I'm actually not really thrilled with this hand with only 2 lands and a lot of semi-high casting cost stuff. I'm going to draw a new hand. This is better. Yeah. I like the 3 land as well as the kind of lower overall curve that we've got going on here. Is this our same opponent again? It may be. That would be kind of unfortunate, but it is what it is, I suppose. It does appear to be the same opponent. I do apologize. Alright. I'm going to just cast Cub here. Don't mind at all trading with our opponent's Child of the Night. Felidar Cub, the latest iteration of Kami of Ancient Law. Okay, Reef Soul's fine as well. Not too upset about that. Right, kind of disappointed we haven't drawn a 4th land yet, though hopefully we will manage to get there. We do have plenty of answers in our hand at the moment for what may transpire, so that's good. And that's a good thing to be spell shriveling Do not want to be dealing with Erebos Titan in this deck, because it's most likely going to be indestructible against us. We rarely have creatures out on our side of the board. Alright, kind of tempted to Telling Time for a land here, but that would leave us a bit vulnerable, especially if we don't hit one. But seeing as how we have Spell Shrivel still, I want to hold that up for now. If we don't get a use for it, we can always just Telling Time on our opponent's turn, seeing as it is an instant. Our opponent is going up in life again. And we are Spell Shriveling again. Keep that stuff off the board, please and thank you. There's our fourth land. Nice. Still would have liked to had it sooner, but what can you do? I will be flaring this time and casting Telling Time as well. See what we can get here. Do expect our opponent to have another threat. Gravedigger, that's pretty good for them. Getting back Child, of course. And now we will Telling Time. And yeah, this is pretty good. We'll put that into our hand, put Hixus on top. Play a land and pass. Most likely here, I will be flashing in Hixus to block. Would rather not take the 2, especially since, though he is good against hordes and exiling, I don't think I would like for this to come back in at some point if they manage to deal with Hixus and get another return creature from the graveyard trigger there. We will cast Hixus. Okay, you have to wait till it's resolved, sir or madam. It's perfectly fine if you want to do that, but you can't do it while Hixus is on the stack. But we did get to block, so we're not taking 2 there, and we tapped our opponent down such that they weren't able to play another threat, which is also good. Now I think I'm going to play Jace. We will pass. And we will most likely be Telling Time again. Foresee that we may actually need to dig for a planar outburst this game. Maybe. Necromantic Summons. We can't really do anything about that, so we'll go ahead and let him get our Felidar Cub. Huh. Kind of expected him to get Hixus. Maybe he suspects that we have some sort of enchantment that he wants to deal with. I don't know. Alright, we will Telling Time here. And that's not super good. Guess we'll put an island into our hand and a plains on top. And this time I will not be flipping Jace on my turn, because I do want to try to get the free block. And I also would like Jace to not be vulnerable to attack at this point. We could potentially draw into something decent with Inspiration as well. And there's Lily. Alright, I'm going to cast Inspiration here. See what we get. Nothing relevant. Okay. So we will block here, confirm, pause, and then we will flip Jace. And we got a flare, okay. I guess we will discard the Guild Gate since it comes into play tapped. And I'm also going to flare my opponent at this point. Maybe not take any damage here. Yeah, that's good. So we blocked the 4/4. They chose to sack the Gravedigger that was attacking. Lily is flipped now, but I actually kind of prefer that at this point to having her swinging at me or Jace. So discard, I will discard a Plains. And I suppose it's time to get Disciple of the Ring going here. So we will play Foundry now and cast the Disciple. We will then plus Jace onto the Child of Night and go to our opponent's turn. Okay. Alright. Blessing, so we will discard the stream. And we will use our Disciple to tap some stuff down. Tap this guy, removing Telling Time. And I'm fine with the zombie attacking if that's what they want to do. But they don't, so I will tap down the zombie. Also removing Spell Shrivel. Okay, that's a good draw there. Now I will tap down Child, removing another Spell Shrivel. That's fine. I'm going to attempt to get Liliana off the board here. I'm going to attack. Attack Lily. Confirm. And we will pump. +1/+1, removing Telling Time. Okay. Pump. +1/+1, removing Celestial Flare. Okay. +1/+1, removing Celestial Flare. Okay. And we need one more. So this is going to use our last instant in the graveyard. +1/+1, removing Inspiration. Okay. Okay, so Liliana will go to the graveyard. We will plus Jace on the Child, which will keep him from dying, barring some kind of additional damage from our opponent. They can take him to 1 if they want to. Probably nearing the point where we're going to want to be popping our Foundry of the Consuls for Thopters. And I would not be at all sad to see a planar outburst off the top. Kind of what I expected there. Jace will go to 1. Tainted Remedy. Okay, we don't really have any life gain in this deck, so that's not a big deal. Oh, sorry. Left it paused there. You gonna sack Felidar Cub to kill your own Tainted Remedy? That would be rather strange, I believe. Alright, so Jace will now plus on this guy. And we will pass. I don't think we have anything else that we can feed to Disciple of the Ring, so she is strictly on defense at this point, and we are going to Bone to Ash that. Yes. Inspiration's good. Jace will die here if our opponent commits to that. I need to attack with all of them there, okay? And I will kill Child of the Night here. We'll let Jace go at this point. He's been very, very good for us. Would love to have kept him around. Don't understand why our opponent keeps trying to activate Felidar Cub there. Want to inspire ourselves to greatness, if possible. Ah, Planar Outburst. That's pretty good. Double Planar Outburst. Wow. Okay, then. So, we will hold on to that. And we will swing with our Disciple. We have some instants now, so we will pass the turn. Opponent's going to attack. We're going to tap down the 4/4, I believe. No, we won't either. We'll let them swing if they want to. Okay, so we will untap our Disciple. Okay. And then we could block here and punt, but I'm going to block. Yeah, I will. I'll block here. Confirm. And then we'll activate again to give Disciple +1/+1. Okay. Disciple of the Ring. Almost Morphling. Not quite. Languish. That's fine. We'll go ahead and activate our Foundry. Alright. Okay to see horribly awry there. And now it's a matter of whittling our opponent down from 25. Nothing from our opponent. I will continue to play my lands. And swing. We've got our trusty reset buttons in hand, plus a little counter magic as well. We are in pretty good shape. Breaker of Armies even. Okay then. Didn't see that coming. I think I'm not going to planar outburst here. I think I'm going to Celestial Flare that Breaker of Armies. That's hilarious. It's honestly been a long time since I've played a deck that is this just absolutely controlling. And while I'm sure it's super annoying for my opponent, it is very enjoyable from this side of the table. Make sure to get this Celestial Flare cast here. Another Tainted Remedy. Our opponent must have been playing against other decks that had life gain in them. I mean, we could cast Planar Outburst with Awaken just to get a bit of a faster clock with a 4/4 land, but I'd rather hold it for the possible eventuality that we need to wipe the board twice. Don't actually think that's going to be the case, but it very well could. Okay, we can get that guy with Horribly Awry. Could use the Bone to Ash to counter draw, but I would rather use the Horribly Awry as it has much more narrow circumstances when it's actually usable. So use it when it's available. And save the Bone to Ash for a much broader class of creatures. And just chopping at the opponent bit by bit. Okay. So our opponent holds on to a card. Go ahead and swing for 2. Got 7 more turns after this one. If our opponent doesn't manage to put up any more of a resistance to us. Child of Night. Yeah, let's say no to that. Mainly for the card draw. Another Horribly Awry. And our opponent was either holding or just drew that swamp. This will double our clock. Attack. And let our opponent have a draw phase, I suppose. We'll pop this other Foundry. EOT, end of turn. And I don't want that to be around either. We will Horribly Awry it since we can. And Spell Shrivel will not get the job done. Our opponent can definitely pay 4 mana. Go ahead and pop this. And that cuts our clock to 3 turns. Play our island. And attack. Okay. Opponent once again watching damage effects. These games would have went by quite a bit faster if they had disabled that in their settings. I mean, if you want to watch that, that's fine. I'm not going to knock you for it. Just if you would like, and our opponent gives up, if you would like your games to go a bit faster, it's good to disable that. Though it doesn't take much time each time all those incidents add together to a large amount of time over several games. Alright. Let our now AI opponent have one more turn to see if they can get out of this. I don't think they can. And indeed they cannot. I think we will try to get in one more game, though this video is... Well, I'm going to have to inspire here to see if I can stop this. Okay, I can't. So our opponent gets another turn. Play that. I'm going to go ahead and play nothing else. Just pass. I was going to say I'm going to try to get in one more game, though it is going to make the video a bit long. You by no means obligated to watch all the way through, but I feel kind of bad facing the exact same opponent in the video. Though this does sort of show that this deck is a really good matchup versus mono black of that type. In any event, I'll see you in the next one. Okay, this looks like a different opponent this time. And despite having 2 lands, I'm pretty happy with this because of the Jace, so I'm going to keep it. Hopefully Jace will survive long enough to be useful to us. Alright. Canopy Vista for the opponent. Plains Jace for the home team. Hopefully, Jace lives the turn. And it looks like he will. Okay. So our opponent is ramping of a sort at the moment. Yep, so we're facing Abzan, it looks like. Alright, let's go ahead and loot. And we will discard an inspiration at this point. Like to keep the 2 Bone to Ashes there, and I'm definitely not getting rid of Planar Outburst or Gideon. Okay, so nothing on turn 3. Just pass back to us. That's kind of what we're happy to see. We will loot. And I will go ahead and get rid of the Horribly Awry, because we have enough mana to cast Bone to Ash. And I don't want to drop Gideon at the moment. Would like to get a little bit more established. Maybe flip Jace first. Okay. We are going to counter that. Counter draw. Gets us that much closer to flipping Jace as well. Alright. Let's go ahead and loot. We will be discarding an island this time, I think. Yep. Play this one. And pass again. Hopefully Jace lives one more turn for us. If he does, I think we're going to be in pretty good shape. From Beyond, that's not good. Yeah, we need a Felidar Cub, and Jace is dying, so that's not good either. At least we have Gideon. So we will play an island, and we will play Gideon. We are going to 0 him. Get ourselves a 2/2 ally. And pass back. It's kind of a good foil for From Beyond, though not the best. Would like to draw a Felidar Cub. Alright, so we are going to need to Planar Outburst here. Yeah. See how many lands our opponent has. 1, 5. They sacrificed so they've got 6 lands. So they're actually one off Gaia's Revenge as well. It's interesting conundrum. I still think we outburst. Yeah. Alright. Let's outburst. And I could make Gideon a 5/5 and get in there, but I think I want to try to protect him a bit in case Gaia's Revenge is forthcoming. So we'll put out a 2/2 and pass again. It's not very good to have to planar outburst a single creature, but Emiria Shepherd is pretty insane, so right. That's all our opponent does. I'm going to be quite happy this turn. Felidar Cub. Good. Good. Alright, let's attack first. See what our opponent does here. Okay, blocks with a Scion. So they're not trying to get to any more mana, or they would have blocked with the Vine. Go ahead and cast Felidar. And immediately kill From Beyond, which they can search with if they want. I just want it off the table. We'll get to see what they get here. Ulamog, okay. Have counter for that, though the exile will still happen. As such, I want to put out as many 2/2s as possible. See. Opponent is 2 mana short of Ulamog at the moment. I'm going to risk countering this because we're going to have a lot of card draw between the Bone to Ash itself and Inspiration. Okay, Celestial Flare. Let's go ahead and make Gideon a 5/5. Try to end this game as quickly as possible. Attack with all. Yeah, I kind of expected Gatecreeper to take one for the team. And I will Telling Time before passing the turn. Inspiration draws raw cards, but Telling Time digs us deeper. So I think I want Telling Time in my hand. I want Inspiration on top and Plains on the bottom. I will pass for now. We can cast both Telling Time and Inspiration on our opponent's turn if we don't need to Celestial Flare a Gaia's Revenge or something of that sort. And if our opponent has a land, we know they can cast Ulamog next turn. Making choices. Okay. All right. Going to let that resolve. That's fine at this point. Vampiric Rites. That's okay as well. Well, no. I want to wait till end of turn. Pause. I'm going to cast Inspiration first. Then we will cast Telling Time. Okay. Guess we want Flare and Cub. I will cast Inspiration main phase. Okay, so we did not get another counter. At this point, I think I want to Emblem Gideon. And we will attack. Confirm. Gonna go ahead and flare to keep my creature alive. I'm gonna cast Felidar Cub. And immediately kill that enchantment, just in case our opponent doesn't top deck the land they need to cast Ulamog. And they did. So bye-bye Gideon and something else. Okay? Alright, I'm going to swing. And hopefully Ulamog will block. Okay, Ulamog does not block. Didn't really expect him to, but we'll pass. We can deal with Ulamog here with Celestial Flare. We will go down to 12 cards in our library. But he will be gone. Flesh Bag, that's fine. Let's pop Foundry. Okay, make sure to leave up 2 white. I will sack a Thopter. Our opponent does not attack. They are wary of Celestial Flare, apparently. As well they should be, I suppose. Let's go ahead and attack. Don't know that I would not attack in that situation, though, because it's much worse to just get flared without exiling some cards. Or maybe, well, I guess they held back to block because they were dead without blocking. That makes sense as well. So, though it seemed a little tense for a minute, it seems we have one out here. Barring something insane as the last card in our opponent's hand here. What you got? Alright, our opponent finally decided to let us have our turn here. And we will swing in. Alright. Well, that's it for this episode of Friday Night Magic. If you've enjoyed the video, please leave a like below. It really does help. And consider subscribing to the channel to be notified when I upload new content. And until next time, be excellent to each other.